Thank you, thank you. That was the song I think I needed to hear. Feeling emotional, just. I love the part about the mountain, because I feel like the last couple of weeks I've been moving through a mountain, Yeah, I feel like things have been going very smooth, and then life brings you some mountains. And it feels like a very emotional month. And I'll get into what's happening the last 2 weeks, but also my mother, I haven't even had time to think of her, and she's on hospice. And I just feel like it's so overwhelming. All of a sudden, that song just brought up, wow, I have a lot going on. But I do like growing. I do, and I know I'm calling it all in. And I love that the topic is courage this month. And I know that I probably have called in all this juicy stuff to help me grow. And, when I come here, Reverend Pat even gave me the option to not talk today. I can't believe I said yes. That felt very vulnerable that I will do it, on top of everything. But when I come here, I feel like I get a hug between people's looks, people's comments, people's hugs, the prayers. I feel like I get a good group hug here. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you. Someone sent to me, my topic today is the courage to choose love. And I just wanted to kind of go over that. Someone sent me a great acronym. Did I say that right, Lou? I was having trouble with that word this morning. That's my husband on the video camera there. And hopefully he's getting the good angles of me. Somebody sent me in an email, what does it mean to have courage? And it's an acronym. And it's compassion, oneness consciousness, unconditional love, resilience. Boy, do I love that word, resilience. And it kind of went with that song and with your meditation today. Accountability, gratitude, and energy. And I think you'll see those throughout my talk today. And love, and I just want to remind us, that it's so easy. I know it's easy for me to think of love as I love you and, an emotional love. But we're really talking about that Christ consciousness within us, that active, I love this, active expression of the Christ consciousness within us. And we all have it. It's all in here. It's that love, it's patience, it's unconditional love, it's non-judgmental, it's loving, it's inclusive, and that's all within us. That's there. That's what we're trying to let flow out. What happens is sometimes the stress, the fears, the old beliefs kind of get piled up on top of that, and we get anxious and fearful. So again, really working on our prayer and meditation and forgiveness work, releasing some of that so we can let that love move through us. Because it's really worth it, because it really is our true essence, is that Christ consciousness moving through our personality. And it's a lot more relaxing when we can get there. But it's practice. It's practice, and it's stuff that comes to us every day that we learn. And I love that song. We choose every moment. When we choose love instead of reaction, when we choose love instead of retaliation, when we choose love instead of judgment or fears, and it's a choice. And I love the word pause, because if we don't pause for just a moment, our reactive self can take over. But in that pause, we can let the wisdom come up. And then we know what to say. We know what to do. And that was the quote I really loved, was, love one another as I love you. And that's John 13:34. And that's kind of all that. That's the love we're talking about. So this, probably in January, mid-January, I got my official jury duty. And I've never done jury duty. And I thought maybe I was just sliding under the, making it right out of there. And I tried not to I didn't even think about it, because I just haven't gotten it. And I thought, okay, that's it. That's great. So I got my official letter. And I said, perfect. It's always perfect timing, jury duty, I think. There's never a good time. And so it was like March, And so now I know, my mother went on hospice, and I'm, trying to make plans to go to New Jersey. And then I get, jury duty. And, but I said, it would be easy to just call and say, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to serve. I want to do it. I've never done it. And it'll be a challenge for me. And then the fears started coming up. Now, I'm telling you, I'm a country mouse. I do not like going downtown, okay? I went down once. I thought I'd challenge, because I love to challenge myself. I said, let me drive to the Guthrie. So excited, because I actually found it. And I went to the play. I went to the play by myself, which was another, I love, challenging that. But something happened on the way home where, and this was 10 years ago, so the GPSs aren't as awesome as they are now. Because now I feel like I can make it to California and back and blinded. I can just do it. But for some reason, it was like a tom-tom, and it wasn't getting me home. And it was 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. I'm on the side street in somewhere downtown, and there I am calling Lou. And I'm like, how do I get home from, I found the streets, and I don't know how he can do it, but he got me home, I'm not even a Southwest, you start talking Southwest, forget it. I don't have that chip at all. I don't have that chip. So I said, listen, I don't want to drive there, to the government center, and let alone park. Okay, parking ramps, for some reason, to me, are very claustrophobic. They're tiny, and you're trying to go up, and you keep going up, and I'm like, how do you get out? So I said, I am going to try the bus. Let's see if I can. Now, I'm on Lake Minnetonka, so not like where there's a lot of buses. So I said, and they gave you the Metro, you call them up, and I said, I'm going to call, tell them where I am, tell them what time I have to get there. They were so great. So I said, I think I know how to do this. I'm going to try it. The thing that scared me, though, now again, a lot of courage is coming here. I didn't know where to get off. I didn't know what the building looked like. I was like, how do I know when to get off? So my husband decided the first time I would go down, he would drive me, and he made a great map. He enlarged the map, put all the pictures on, and he showed me the building to look forward. He dropped me off, and I saw the street, the crossing that the bus would take me off. So I said, okay, I think I see it. I know what the building looks like. I think I got the layout, Everybody's telling me, you're not going to get picked. Don't worry about it. Just put all your stuff, bring your stuff. You're going to have to sit there, and so forth. So I said, great. Brought my, my computer. I brought, you name it, books, a prosperity book. I was going to read a prosperity book. I had lunch. I got a great table. I got a desk. It had little dividers. I was near the window. I said, okay, for the whole day, I'll be fine. They had this orientation, and they said when the red thing goes on the TV, just be here because they're going to call names. Well, there's 150 people in this room. There's no way they're going to call my name. Karen Onny. And I was like, no. Pack up all my stuff that I had so perfectly set for the day. Watch some Netflix. So, and then you go and you get questions, and guess who gets picked? Again. So, and I'm actually still on the case, so I cannot talk about it, which I thought could be part of this talk, but I cannot talk about it. That's the challenging part, is leaving the house at 7, coming home at 6:30 at night, feeling all this emotion, and I can't talk about it. It's amazing, because for me, emoting is de-stressing. So I've just been really grateful for the people praying for me. Thank you, Reverend Pat. Thank you, prayer chaplains. But it has been a really a lot of emotion. Plus, it's so not me. I'm not in a room all day long, and the patience I have to, just being patient. But I am so proud of myself for carrying that bag, getting on the bus, getting off at the right stop. I'm like an expert now. I know exactly where to get off, running to the building. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe people do this all the time. I really had a lot of compassion for people who have to go, all day long downtown. But the bus, it does remind me when I was young, we lived not far from New York City. We were in New Jersey. And my mother would get us on the bus, and we'd go down to New York. So it kind of reminded me of that time, And I like the bus because you just sit there and you can read and let someone else drive. It's $1. Who knew? I was like, this is so fun. And I'm learning now how to get home, and Lou met me at Trader Joe's. I can figure that out. I call Metro. So I feel like I'm really growing. And really, I don't know, for me, it feels like I can almost do anything now. Every time I go through that ring of fear that I have, like, oh no, I'm not going to the city. Now I'm like doing it. And it moves me over that thing of fear. And now all of a sudden it's like, what else can I do? What else can I do? The Skyway system. Who knew about that? I've heard about it. I didn't understand what it really was. But I'm walking through the Skyway system. Now, again, directions. That thing is right, left, right. So I walk, 10 feet and come back to starting. And then I go 20 feet and come back and start. So I'm learning where everything is and so forth. I'm going to go into, I just made that word up. I'm going to move into this other story here. It's not a story, it's a parable. And I thought of this parable that it would be really good for this talk. It just popped up in my head. And that's how I get my talk, is mostly from meditation. Things just pop up. And also my husband, I have to give him credit too, because he said he loves this parable. And he said, why don't you use that, the parable of the Good Samaritan. And it's from Luke, but I'm not quite sure. It's in the Gospel of Luke, so look it up. You can Google it now. So it's a story of a person who is traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho. And as he's traveling on this road, robbers, jump him, probably take his money or whatever he has, and harm him, beat him up, and they leave him on the side of the road. So then we have a priest that is walking down the street, and he may look at him, but he keeps going. And then we have a Levite, and that is a temple assistant, and that person also kind of walked right by him. And then we have the Samaritan. And the Samaritans were a group of people that really were despised by the Jews. It was this group that they did not get along at all with the Jews. But the Samaritan jumped right in. He jumped right in, started helping the guy with his wounds, took him on his horse, and took him to an inn, and gave the person money and said, please fix this, help this man. And Jesus says, who is the neighbor here? Love your neighbor as yourself. Who is the neighbor here? I just love this parable because it says so much. This Samaritan didn't say, do I have time to pick up this person or help this person? Is he part of me? Is he one of me? Does he deserve my help? Does he deserve for me to stop? He just did it. He jumped in and helped him. And to me, this is kind of like our fifth principle. We have some great principles, God is, prayer and meditation, thoughts held in mind. We have some great books. We have great Sunday services. But if we're just reading and listening and not actually going out into the world and being active, what we're saying is we need to be active out in the world, to actually take our principles and bring them out into the world and live them, even just a little bit. I also love the part in the story is, you tend to think of the priest and the Levite would be the first ones to stop, those people who are, studying and doing all the rituals. But it doesn't always work that way. We actually have to do it. And you see that. And when we have big stuff happening, earthquakes or so, you see people just jump in. Those are they just jump in and help. They don't find out who's who and, do I have time? People just jump in. So I'm going to go back to the skyways now. And as I'm walking through the skyways, I see the homeless people person sitting there. And I'm listening to the Good Samaritan because I took all my notes and I put them on the voice recorder so that I could do this while I'm, spending all day in the city and having breaks and so forth. So I can listen to my notes. And I keep listening to the story about the Good Samaritan, and I'm like walking by this guy, and I'm like, wait a minute. I think I'm the Levite, And so, I would hand $1 or $2. But for me, I don't know why I don't love giving cash. And it's not like I really care where they're putting the money, but it doesn't feel like me. I don't know. So a couple months ago, Lou and I decided, because he sees people when he's downtown. He's in St. Paul. And we said, why don't we make up those little packages, how people do with socks and granola bars and hand warmers. And that feels like something I can do. That's something I feel good about doing. So we did. We made up these packages with socks and stuff and granola bars and chapstick. And it's fun. It felt fun to do. This felt like, wow, this is exciting. So, both of us have them in the car so that if we see somebody, we can hand them the bag. And that's me. That feels good. And, Lou and I will text, we gave a bag away today. It's like exciting. So I said, you know what? I can make up mini bags. So what I did is got little quart-sized bags and, got granola bars and these thin gloves and, blah, blah, blah. And I put them in, and I'm carrying them in my bag. So now I feel like I'm ready. So like when someone comes up or I see somebody, I can hand them this bag. My next step is really, and I've done this, and it's amazing, but to actually look at them in the eye. It's not always easy to do that, to actually look at this person in the eye. So I really want to come from love there. No judgment. I really want to come from that neutral place and see them, to just see them. So that felt good. And I think that's something, something we can all do. If you don't feel like just giving out cash, what is it for you? Maybe it's just saying hi. Maybe it's just stopping, and giving them, a hello or something. We were also discussing, too, this morning, taking out pages of the Daily Word and sticking them in there. Who knows? That might, we used to just put the whole booklet in, but then we would have to wait every 2 months for another book. So all of a sudden this morning when we were reading the Daily Word, we said, why don't we just take a page out and stick it in each one, So you never know. You never know what's going to touch someone, So my experience is still ongoing, and I just ask, continue to hold me in prayer. It's an amazing process. I remember when before I got picked for the jury, I was out walking through the skyways, and I was praying, and my first prayer was a prayer of a little bit of a beg and beseeching type prayer. And I said, listen, God, I don't really want to be on this jury, I'm just going to give you my desire, I'm just going to throw it out there. But, and then I got to the affirmative prayer, our prayer that we do here at Unity. And I said, okay, listen, I know you know that I love to grow and I love to challenge myself. So if I am supposed to be on this jury, I'm gonna let go and be in this jury. And when I got that name, when they called my name, and I just thank you, God, for the opportunity to learn and grow and continue to grow and climb the mountains. So thank you. The last thing I was gonna do is, my favorite, another one, I think I talked about this a couple months ago, is the forgiveness. I was doing the topic of forgiveness, and it says, again, it's from Luke, and it's when Jesus is on the crucifix. He's nailed to the cross, looking down, and he says, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." That, for me, is so humbling, and especially being on a jury, to be able to see that spiritual vision, to see through people and know that they are just not acting, or they're not even in contact with that, which I said we all have, that love inside. They are acting from fear, from anxiety, from what, maybe a leader telling them what to do. They are just acting from that wounded part of themselves, which I do, in everyday little things. And this is where, again, we can make a decision. But I know I can even tell in the tone of my voice when I react, or I slap out something. I know that's from a wound that I'm carrying. So it's time to me, I put a little bookmark there and say, I got to find out what's happening there. Why did that reaction happen? So I also love in that he says that forgiveness is about remembering. It's really remembering who we are, that Christ potential in every moment. We don't have to retaliate, We can make a decision instead of retaliation. We can just pause for a moment and use that wisdom that comes up. This is all part of that God love and choosing love. But to me, to be able to, when he is on that cross, the ultimate suffering, he is still in Christ consciousness. He had every reason to just start yelling and screaming and being mad. And again, not that he doesn't have feelings. Feelings are very valid. He didn't hold on to them, though, forever, which I know I can. But he doesn't. He just emits them, and then he's back to that center, So again, I can challenge myself this week to really stand in that place of staying centered, using our prayer and meditation. When we feel like we're feeling a little anxious or so forth, great time for a prayer. Calling Silent Unity, putting it out electronically, doing it yourself, praying with yourself, So this week, I'm going to say, either, maybe decide, where do you want to bring this love? Is it a relationship? Is there something in your life that you can choose love instead of fear, anxiety, or retaliation? Just something. And also maybe think about, like, if you see those homeless people, what would be your way of touching them in a sense? Or I don't know if that makes sense. Of just bringing you to them, whether it's a hello or maybe a page from the Daily Word. Maybe it's one of those little gift bags. Maybe it is cash. Maybe you love to give cash. So just, again, thinking about that from the heart. So I appreciate you, and hopefully one day I can tell you all about this that I'm going through. I'm ready to burst, but thank you for being here, really.